Welcome everyone to Coach Ben's Case by Case. Today's case is I wasted 10 years of my life. So let's go ahead and dive in to see what this person means. All right, here we go.
I married young and had no idea what I was getting into and what kind of person she was. She was a virgin, very religious Christian family. Within 6 months, I realized it was a mistake. She unfortunately found out she was pregnant. She was selfish, immature, lazy, and asexual. Sex was for having babies.
All right, so pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and review this part of the case. I married young. Big mistake. Big mistake. Had no idea what I was getting into. Of course. Now, it depends how young this gentleman was, but I wonder myself how young he was. What kind of a person she was. You see, this is the problem. You just jump into marriage or you jump into dating. You don't even know who this person is. That's why I encourage becoming friends first. Get to know that person. Establish a solid friendship. The next levels can wait if they're worth waiting. If you're worth waiting for. She was a virgin, very religious Christian family. Okay, look, I don't have anything against religion. But this whole wait until you get married to have sex, I did a stream on that many months ago. It's upside down, it's backwards. You're going to spend the rest of your life with this person. You have to know how they are in the bedroom. I'm sorry if that offends anybody out there, but consider the risks that you are taking otherwise. Stay a virgin. Go ahead. Find out the hard way. Because once you get married and find out how they are in the bedroom, and you guys find out that you're sexually incompatible. Sexual incompatibility is one of the top killers. And guess what? Now you guys are stuck married together. Literally stuck. What are you going to do? Divorce? That looks really bad, doesn't it? And very irresponsible, to say the least. It's time to evolve as humans. It's time to forget about these cultural differences. They're extreme differences. No offense to religions, but it doesn't work. Love does not work like that. Sexual intimacy is one of the top 3, if not, I would put it on the top of importance in a relationship. If you're not sexually satisfied, if it doesn't mean that much to you, you're doomed. You're never going to be happy. You can lie to yourself all you want. So let's see what happened. Within 6 months, I realized it was a mistake. She unfortunately found out she was pregnant. Unfortunately, maybe that was an unplanned pregnancy, perhaps. She was selfish, immature, lazy, and asexual. Well, nobody's asexual. Maybe a low libido. Sex was for having babies. See, that's the problem. Oh boy, there's a reason why we were created by whatever created us. I don't care which religion you practice. Something created everybody with a bunch of nerves, sensations that we feel of pleasure, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And what happens with religious extremists, and I say extremists, I have to emphasize that, because they consider everything to be taboo and forbidden. So if sex is so pleasurable of an experience, why not have sex for pleasure? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's like going outside and playing in the playground when you were a little kid, and then playing video games when you grow up, or playing soccer, playing whatever you like playing, watching a good movie. It's pleasure, right? So what's the difference between having what they call carnal pleasure, as if it's some taboo forbidden, right? We're not here to discuss religion, but look how it affects a relationship. The incompatibility in this case. Maybe this guy who wrote this, is religious. Maybe not as religious as she is, apparently, because she took it to the extreme, and this is what happens. I can already predict what's going to happen, but let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? It's not looking too good, I'll tell you that much.
I'd never had sex with someone so uninterested in intimacy. I tried everything, even counseling with a psychologist who was from her religion. Despite his best attempts to get through to her, nothing worked. Once she had a child, her sole focus was being a mother. She couldn't care less about being a wife.
Okay. All right, so I never had sex with someone so uninterested in intimacy. Well, is that a spell for failure? That's a true spell for failure right there. Intimacy is, like I said, number one. The embracing of two spirits, two souls together, soul mates, the mating of the souls, ultimately. I tried everything, even counseling with a psychologist, well, good luck with that, who was from her religion. It doesn't matter. It's up to her, right? You can talk her ear off. Like, even myself as a coach, I can talk somebody's ear off. But if they insist on being an extremist, on doing things the wrong way, there is absolutely nothing I can do. Neither on my side and my profession, nor a friend or a family member. People sometimes have to learn the hard way or never learn at all. Never learn at all. Despite his best attempts to get through to her, nothing worked. Once she had a child, her sole focus was being a mother. Okay, that's good. She couldn't care less about being a wife. You see, that's bad. You know, you got a marriage to uphold. And I always tell, people this, like parents especially. Yes, it's your responsibility to raise your children or child. Absolutely. But don't forget about your partner, for crying out loud. It's not like you guys are like, oh, it's time to get old and die just because we had kids. I don't think so. Your responsibility is now twofold. You take care of your kids and you take care of your partner. And that includes sexually too. Because guess what's going to happen? Cheating or just a decline in sexual attraction. And you will end up breaking up after the kids leave the house to become independent and find somebody to love for themselves. Now what? Your marriage is all torn apart because you thought that taking care of the kids was way more important than being a good spouse, a sexy spouse. Well, we're going to find out what happens because couldn't care less about being a wife. That's a recipe for failure. Let's go ahead and move on.
She seldom cooked, had a housekeeper to clean the house, and made every excuse to avoid sex. A person who has a strong sexual drive can only last so long without intimacy and affection. Over the years, I had a few affairs. The woman knew it was just sex, and that there were no interest in a relationship. I was discreet. My ex never found out.
Wow. Just wow. What do we got here? She seldom cooked. Well, I believe that both partners should know how to cook. But yeah, it's nice when you have the housewife cooking. I mean, because he says here I had a housekeeper clean the house. Well, that's also both partners' responsibility. So, long gone are the old black and white days with a stay-at-home mom. Maybe you guys are both working. That's okay. But if it is the case of the stay-at-home wife, there's even some stay-at-home dads out there. Whoever's staying at home needs to take care of the house for the most part, but you do too. When you come back from work all tired and exhausted, it's your responsibility too. You guys have to help each other. So, let's say she is a housewife. Well, you come home from work all exhausted. She gives you a nice rub, a massage. Maybe you guys have some good sex, because that's always great. Have a nice meal together. Take a good breather. And if you guys have some chores to tidy up to, do them together. Take a load off of each other's shoulders. It's mutual comfort. It's mutual responsibility. And I've discussed that plenty of times. How it's teamwork, right? When it comes to the household, when it comes to raising kids, if there are any. Okay, so, clean the house and made every excuse to avoid sex. You see, that is a sign that that's a red alarm. That's a huge red flag. Avoiding sex. In this case, we suspect a religious extremist, right? For whatever reason, it just doesn't matter. What's not happening is the sex. The sexual intimacy is not there. The libido is not there. The love, the attraction's not there. Red alarm. Sound the alarms. Okay, so let's go ahead and see here. A person who has a strong sexual drive can only last so long without intimacy and affection. Absolutely. And then we get into the topic of sexless marriages, which is horrific. It's horrible. That shouldn't even exist. Over the years, I had a few affairs. You see, there you go. Now the relationship is done. It's over. Time to divorce. Once cheating occurs, it's over. Finito. The end. There is no recovering from that. And I don't care if there are couples out there who pretend to forgive each other, it's done. It'll never be the same again. The most important part of any relationship is trust. Once that trust is broken, it's over. The woman knew it. Or I guess he says the women because some people don't know how to say women for plural. It was just sex and that there were no interests in a relationship. There was. I was discreet. My ex never found out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your spouse ever finds out that you're cheating. You should have a guilty conscience, right? That's really sad to hear. So this is where the relationship ended. And you can't necessarily blame the housewife for being a religious extremist, supposedly. That's what it sounds like. For withholding sex, for not even wanting to have sex. But it is a recipe for disaster. Either way, doesn't matter who's culpable. It's a recipe for disaster. When there's no sex, get ready for the whole blizzard of problems. A full hurricane that's not going to end good. It's not going to end well. Tons of spinning tornadoes as a secondary and tertiary effects. All right, let's go ahead and move on, shall we?
After 10 years, I reached my breaking point and told her we were through. I never regretted my affairs or divorce. I paid alimony and child support, saw the children as much as possible, and never discussed the marriage or divorce with others. I did everything I could to make the marriage work and have a positive relationship. You can't make your partner want to be with you and invest in the marriage. The only thing I did wrong was not ending it sooner. I wasted 10 years of my life.
And there it is. I wasted 10 years of my life. There it is. How did you think this was going to end? After 10 years, I reached my breaking point and told her we were through. Well, somebody has to call breakup. If she's not going to do it, I wonder why she didn't do it. But he was the one cheating, so it doesn't really matter in the end. It's already done. Even if he were not to have cheated on her, it was already done. Because she's not willing to commit and to change things for the better. And there's nothing much that he can do. Either he breaks up respectfully, which he didn't. He had to cheat first, which he should have just broke up. He just made a bad situation worse. But no matter, let's go ahead and read on. I never regretted my affairs or divorce. Well, you should regret your affairs because that's dishonorable. Regardless of how bad the situation is, you do not make yourself just as bad as your spouse or worse. You don't break trust. You do things amicably, the right way. Get it done the right way. When you're going to quit your job, you don't throw a temper tantrum. I hope not. Just leave. Just leave. Don't make a bad situation worse. So he cheated on her, regardless of who's right. I paid alimony and child support. You better. That's your responsibility. You brought children into the world. That was a mutual decision. Unless it was an unwanted pregnancy, but regardless. Safe sex, right? Saw the children as much as possible. Good man. And never discussed the marriage or divorce with others. Okay. Well, it depends what you mean by others, because if you're going to enter a new relationship, yeah, you guys should comb through that, your guys' past. Because, eventually, with your new partner, you guys should be an open book. Not afraid to speak about anything. Not at first, but eventually. It's important to know your partner's history. Not in great detail, but in just amount of detail for the important things. What to work on. Did you really learn from your mistakes? So it's not really good to withhold that information because it could spell a recipe for disaster in the future because you're repeating the same mistakes. Or maybe you guys are going to have incompatibilities elsewhere in the relationship for withholding certain information that's need to know. I did everything I could to make the marriage work. No, apparently not. You cheated on her and have a positive relationship. I don't know. You don't really explain how much you actually tried to do things like talk to her about it. You didn't mention that. You just put it out, just because the person wrote this doesn't mean it's 100% correct, truthful, but we're taking it case by case. You can't make your partner want to be with you. Of course not. Well, you can influence them too, heavily. That's the way it should be. Influencing each other to stay together forever. and invest in the marriage? Of course you can. I mean, you can't make them, but you can influence them to want to. Encouragement, right? It didn't sound like you were too encouraging when you finally had an affair. Multiple times. The only thing I did wrong was not ending it sooner. Absolutely, you got that right. I wasted 10 years of my life. And other men end up wasting 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. The list goes on. Maybe 5 years, 1 year. Making the most horrific decisions on who to befriend, who to eventually fall in love with. It's a sad story, you know. Multiple sad stories here. I mean, this is a sad story, a sad case. You know, regardless of the religious extremism, withholding sex for whatever reason doesn't have to be because of religion, or that's what he suspected. But if she clearly said that, you know, sex is only to have babies, no, nobody should enter a relationship like that. That's so archaic, that's so outdated, that's so wrong. Even when it was first established, supposedly centuries ago, I don't care how old it is, that's wrong. Because two people who are in love need to explore each other inside and out before marriage. You have to know what you're going to get into for the rest of your life, and that includes sex. Sexual compatibility. Sexual compatibility is at the top of the list. And for those who get all squeamish about that, grow up. Time to mature. Alright, so Coach Ben's case by case. This is case number 2, my closing statements. Whether or not you wasted however many years of your life in a failed relationship, I am here to help. So read my ebook or watch my 1-hour video course. Either one will set your mind straight and teach you how to succeed in the crazy realm of love that we all live in today. Well, not myself, but humanity in general. It's very crazy out there. So yeah, what did we learn from this case? We learned that sexual compatibility is a must before marriage. And for those who disagree, good luck. I hope you don't learn the hard way. Oh boy, you gotta have a test drive. What can I say? You know, you bought it, you live with it. In the case of a car, right? You didn't take it for a test drive. You're gonna find out the hard way. Now you got a clunker that was pretending to be a new car because they just painted up a damaged car. Well, you got to learn the hard way. You know, so my advice is always find out how your partner is if you reach that level of sexual intimacy. In the bedroom or in the kitchen, wherever it happens, learn how they are sexually. And what are their sexual desires and fantasies. This is all extremely important, people. Without sex in the marriage or the relationship, it is over. It is done. Finito. So, always do your best in that department, and hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And much love to everybody. Till the next one.